Flat spot there, it is. I'd like to call the City of Old Town Finance Committee to order on March 18th, 2015. And first thing on is to call to order, which I have done, number 2, fuel trailer. The committee will hear a proposal from the airport manager, Lance Farrar, on purchase of a fuel trailer.
You're right.
Evening, councilors.
Good evening.
Now, I see that Miles is near. Does he know about
In
this?
case it was wrong there, I was
I
gonna
believe
back
he
it back up
does.
further.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. So anyways, the airport's requesting funding out of the hangar reserve fund in the amount of around $34,000 for a self-serve fuel trailer to be used down on the waterfront for the float plane area. I've gotten some different bids. The best one that I found that comes as a complete unit comes out of Wisconsin through Petro To Go LLC. We've made a couple of adjustments, and that's the reason for the $34,000 price. It was originally around $32,000 with delivery. So it's my proposal.
So,
Yep.
oh, go ahead, go, nope.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things that's been a issue up there is several years ago, they used to fuel float planes basically out of the back of a pickup truck with a tank in there, which
Not a good
wasn't
idea.
an inspected truck. There's no weights and
Approved fuel
measures
system.
on the tank or anything else. So I found that out, stopped doing it. So then the next step was
move.
the next step was that they still, the airport committee and obviously the pilots up there wanted to get fuel back, so they kind of looked at Stantec also to see what would a fueling station cost to actually put one down by the river, and that was several $100,000s to do that. And so that didn't really seem feasible, and so Lance has gone down the road here of trying to find a reasonable alternative to that. And this tank system that he's looking at, it's double walled. Did you get a chance to talk to DEP today or no?
I talked to Chief O'Malley. He's actually the NFPA
Yep.
rep. It is compliant with waterfront operations with the
Okay.
double tank.
Yep.
He did have some more information, but he's not here yet.
He is.
Yes, he
He
is.
is.
He snuck in.
He's hiding.
yeah.
So it does meet the requirements, in case it was ever punctured or, for a leak. All of it is compliant with FAA. The meters are weight and measured, the hoses, the pump assembly, everything's aviation grade. So it's a really good, well-built system. And we're getting a decent price on it. It normally would have been about another $6,000, but they're reaching out to the Northeast for business, and we're one of the first clients if we do purchase this.
Oh, wow.
So,
In the Northeast.
the Northeast.
Yeah.
So anyways, I've gone through, they asked me to call and get some references, and I went on the website and looked at some of their feedback from customers, and it looks like it's a very good feedback on the product.
So when is it going to be delivered, or can it be delivered, or do you have to go get it, or?
No, it would be delivered, there was an $800 delivery, which is added into the price here, and it's a 8 to 10 week. They manufacture them specifically for the customer, and we're looking at a 300-gallon tank. And the only thing we would have to do to maintain it is to fill the tank up, probably once a week or twice a week.
So,
Hopefully.
The couple questions. Did the committee talk about this? They knew about this, the airport advisory committee? All in favor?
This morning discussed it,
All
yeah.
in favor?
Yeah.
And you sell that much fuel doing down for the float planes?
How would you know? You haven't done it for 3 or 4 years.
Has it been, so it's been that long?
Yeah, we would be the only area, I'm gonna say probably within 75 miles that would offer this service. Lucky Landing has it now, but it's at his convenience. Where this is self-service, has a card reader, it's a cell phone, has a printer. So it'd be pilots fly in, they go up,
Just use their gas card and?
gas,
Yep.
Fuel it up, yep.
fuel it up.
It's pretty cool.
So once we advertise it and the word of mouth gets out there. I kind of got some figures of what we would have to make a month. I was looking at, if we get the 34,000, it would take us about 6 to 8 years to pay that back, with what we would get back on $1.50 per gallon.
Right.
Is what we would make profit off.
We could make more than that.
Could make
I'm just
more.
gonna say, what's
That's
the word got?
probably conservative,
That's
because you don't know
Yeah.
what you're gonna generate for new
Yeah.
funds.
My thinking would be is that we call around to see what everybody else is selling it for and
Go by that.
Oh, good
be
idea.
close to that.
Close to that.
Instead of just saying we're gonna muck it up $1.50 and be $2 cheaper than anybody else is, because it is right down on the dock, so that you
Right.
can
It's
fuel your
convenient.
planes right there.
Right.
Yeah.
There is an added cost that you might have to do, though. We might have to put in a cement platform and a fence around it and a roof
Right.
over it, just to
Right, keep it
take
safe on
care
the
of it, because
elements,
it is,
yeah.
Yeah.
the
That makes
cost of
sense.
that compared with 3,400, plus somebody could potentially cut a padlock and tow
Right.
it off.
No, exactly.
Then you're gonna have nothing.
Right, that
A
makes.
new police chief would have to work really hard.
And Steve, you're all set with all this?
No, I'll follow it up, but I'm sure that, it looks good to me. I went on, Lance gave me all the info, went on there, and it all looks great. I will pass it by, do some more research, pass it by the state, but, it looks like it's already approved DOT cargo and all that. It's already got all its specs, so it's to me like it's an application that's well worth it.
And there's plenty of money in that fund.
Yep.
And it's 6 to 8 weeks, which is just about the right time, too.
It's a little short, it should be a little faster than that, I think.
Yeah.
'Cause, his estimates are based on 8 months, and we're not gonna get 8 months, and if we don't get it till the middle of May.
Right.
We're not gonna have ice out until the middle of May.
Geez, aren't you an optimist?
Hey, it's March
Not
and
looking
like,
good right
I live
now.
on the upside, sorry.
yo, right. Do I have a motion to move this forward? Unless somebody else has some questions?
So moved.
I'll second.
So it's been, motion has been made and seconded to bring it forward to the council with our recommendation. All those in favor? So moved.
Thank you.
This is John's on this one.
Next one, item number 3, water waste study. The committee will hear request of spending $10,000 from the wastewater surplus to fund a study, fund a study.
Yeah, this has been kind of a long ongoing process here, as we've talked about this, I don't know, for a year and a half or so, about trying to combine the water and sewer districts together. At this point, this is kind of the last body to jump over that hurdle, if you're okay with trying to move that forward. Milford Selectmen have put aside $5,000 for the study. Water district trustees have allotted money for that. And basically the reason why they're looking at doing this is to try to get an outside, you'd need to do an evaluation of the systems to see how much debt's involved with each system, have to figure out what percentage that Old Town would actually have of that system and what Milford would have. I can certainly forward to you, Augusta went through this about 5 years ago. There's a 70-page report that they did on that, talking about all the steps that they took, obstacles that they, that they encountered along the way. It took them about 3.5 to 4 years to get it done from the time they started, but it was also a pretty volatile situation they were in, because first the city tried to take over one of the utilities. They didn't want to do that, and then it went back to all the surrounding towns, because they service a couple of the small towns there. So it's a little bit different situation than what I think that we're in here. But if we wanted to move forward with this, there's a working group out of that which would need money to start down the road of looking at a study and combining this and doing that.
Bill, I saw in your notes that you had a meeting, and I'm on the sewer advisory board, and I knew nothing about the meeting.
Okay.
And, so I kind of am concerned, I felt that we were being pushed into it rather hard. I still kind of do think
Okay.
that we're getting pushed into something I'm not sure that, I don't
Yeah.
know.
No, if I didn't send that out to you, Carol, I apologize. That was just trying to pull those guys together to see if they wanted me to even bring this forward to ask this. So that's, you know.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, the council is an important part of that. And I don't know, I think we'd have to look and see also how successful our venture was before and, you know, when we kind of did share the,
Yep.
you know, and I just kind of think that, I don't know, at the 10, you know, and I know that they're putting up 10, and that's why they're really pushing us to put up 10.
Yeah.
And I think it's more advantageous to the water district than it is to the city.
Well, I mean, the biggest thing that, and again, Augusta will come up here, either their chairman of their current utility committee, or even the manager of that, is either one of them are willing to come up to talk to us as a whole about their situation. They'll tell you right up front that, you know, in the first year, they didn't quote-unquote save money, because a lot of things that they did were through attrition as far as workers that they cut back on. They had a pretty good-sized workforce there, which is what they were trying to get a little bit smaller. That's really not the case here, but, you know, I think the biggest thing you'd be looking at here is equipment purchases in the future, that you won't have both of those utilities buying separate pieces of equipment. Certainly, they'll be able to respond to things better within this area that they service. Those are just some of the things that they're looking at.
What's this study gonna do to benefit us, I guess? And we're talking a lot of money here to study something.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, the biggest thing they have to look at is they have to evaluate the systems to know what they are, how much debt is within each one of those, how those percentages will be broken out between the two, you know, between the two communities.
When you say evaluate the systems, are they gonna evaluate the sewer lines and the water lines?
Yeah,
So that we know if we take on the water department, that we're gonna have to replace 6 miles of
that
water
would be,
line in
you
the
know,
next 10 years?
that'd be part of it. I mean, it's not gonna be super specific for that amount of money, but, you know, everybody will know going in what, you know, what that represents.
Because if it's money-wise, how long does it take us to, the city accountant, to analyze the debt the sewer department has? You know, that's,
Yeah.
doesn't require anything. There
Well-
has to be something to the study that's of value to us
Yeah.
besides
Yeah.
finances.
Well, you know, again, and that's part of the reason why you try to get somebody independently to look at that, because that's what ends up happening. I'm not trying to push either way. I was asked to do this starting a couple of years ago, so I'm just bringing it to this point. Whether we go forward or not, it it doesn't matter to me, but that's part of the reason why you try to pull somebody in independently, because that's what usually ends up happening is that different entities will start feeling like they've got more of a dog in the fight than another town, and that's what trying to pushes it one way or the other as to whether or not it works. And
I think you said it right just there, that the council, I think, did push you in this direction a few years ago. So the question is, do we want to continue that direction, or do we want
and
to,
that's up, you know,
that's where we're
I can
probably
get
gonna
more
figure it out.
information to you guys. I told them I would try to get this, you know, to you to see what your feelings were, and I don't want to try to push you. Certainly, if you don't want to, if you want to wait on that amount of money, you want to look at Augusta's report, you want some more information on that, I can put more stuff to you, but I just told them I'd bring it to you so you could at least.
You said the gentleman or somebody from Augusta would come up and just talk
They
to
will.
us?
Well, they'd come to that meeting. I don't know if I can get them up here at night or not. I mean, they'd more or less want to come up during the day, but I could try to get them up here to a council meeting too, one of them.
Are they gonna come and talk to both departments here?
Yep.
Or- So we could just attend that meeting in theory?
That's right,
Yeah.
yeah. When is it?
They haven't set that
Okay,
yet.
so when you find out, or you could send it, and then whoever
Yeah.
can attend to it, maybe that'll help us out.
To
This point.
determine, yeah, I agree.
Are we thinking of using the same study outfit as what they used? Is our report
No,
gonna be
we haven't
similar to that?
we haven't even thought about who they're gonna hire or anything else.
I guess I'd like to see a copy of the study
Yep,
that was down
yep.
there,
I'll
just,
send that out to you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a long study, it'll take a while to print off, right?
Yeah.
can I just send it by email?
Oh, yeah, I'll email it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll email it to all of you. Yep.
And that way, if we can attend that meeting, whoever wants to
Yeah.
go, and then find
Mhm.
out.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you're right, Bill, you said it right, that you were told to go in that direction, and, you know, maybe that's something we don't want to do anymore, but at least we can find out this way, see if we're still interested.
Yeah, I mean, in looking at it, I don't really think that you're probably gonna save a lot of money up front if you do go this way, but I think what you will do is you'll probably be able to stabilize any increases or mitigate how much the rates go up over the next 5 to 10 years. But I don't think you're gonna see like large amounts of savings out of this.
The issue that I'd be worried about, because I have no idea what the water lines in this city look like.
That's mine.
You know, if we combine the two, then the city's responsible for all those water lines.
That's right.
And if we have to replace this many, we have to raise taxes to replace the water lines.
Well, the utility district would be responsible for it then. Because that's what would do.
They're still gonna raise the
Well,
rates and the
right,
city's in
right.
charge, no matter which tax you call it.
Yeah,
It's gonna raise
yeah,
fees, let's put it that way, instead of
Yeah.
taxes.
yeah.
Yeah, but wouldn't if they had to replace some water lines anyway, even if they're the water district, it's still going to
Yeah,
increase.
but the water district is raising the fees and not the city.
Oh, okay, all right,
There is a difference there, in a lot of people's eyes.
yeah,
Because they're not gonna understand the inner workings of how all this happened. They're gonna say the city took it over, and the first thing they did was raise fees.
yeah, okay.
It's more of an attitude thing than a reality thing.
Perception.
It's.
Yeah, perception,
and-
perception,
and-
perception.
And there has to be a reason that the water district is so intense to get us to do, and they are. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Well, they are.
They're
I
very
mean,
anxious for us to do this.
I mean, the sewer advisory board, I don't think there's anybody on there that necessarily disagrees with this, but, like I told them, I said, it's gonna have to pass muster with you folks anyway. I mean, ultimately, that's where it has to go, and I said, I don't know where the concerns will be or whatever. I said, once I get a chance to see this, and I'll send out that report to you. We can
Right.
bring it back up again.
I think we need to study it a little bit more.
So we don't need to move on this one at all,
No,
we're just gonna wait for more
I'll-
information?
Yep, yep.
Okay,
I'll bring
gotcha.
that, I'll get that stuff out to you.
Do I hear
Okay.
adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? So moved. Thank you.
So,
This goes to Mr. Peterson.
Mr. Peterson, and Linda is on this committee now.
I'd like to call the City of Old Town Administrative Services Committee to order. I guess the question before us again is, the committee will continue discussions on adding a conflict of interest qualification sections to the city charter. This will require a referendum election vote to amend the charter.
And Bill has passed out a memo that I got to him belatedly, which summarizes some of the provisions that I was able to find. I sent this to him yesterday, which was late enough, and then I forgot to attach the attachment. So. But there aren't as many. This is a brief survey based on municipalities that have placed their charters online for ease of research. But there aren't as many of these types of provisions as I recalled. The one I was most familiar with is here, Dexter. I was Dexter's town attorney and had to give some opinions on that in relation to whether you could run for office with a disqualification of this type. But I want to make a couple of points that I related in an email to Bill yesterday. First of all, a lot of municipalities don't have provisions of this type. Second, most of the provisions of this type that are in municipal charters are directed to the council member not holding office in the municipality. They're not directed to whether spouses or other family members are employees or hold municipal office or jobs. Dexter's different. Dexter's very complete. If any family members employed by the town, you cannot serve on the town council. That's at the top of the second page, unless that family member resigns from employment. Created an awkward situation once where someone had a spouse who was a town employee. They wanted to run for town council, and I gave an opinion that they could run. Didn't mean they could serve. It would mean that their spouse would have to resign from employment if they won the election. That could be very awkward. The spouse said no. And then you have a vacancy. You can't give it to the second place vote total. You actually have a vacancy. You have to have a special election. The only other one which really has the same or similar effect is Herman, where they talk about family members having contracts with the town, down at the bottom of the second page and top of the third page. And if you assume that a contract includes an employment contract, then employment of any family member would disqualify you from serving on the council there. It might be that if that were challenged in court, a court would take a more narrow reading, would say, I'm only going to construe this as meaning things like purchase contracts or services contracts and not ordinary employment, in order to save the constitutionality of the provision. Courts employ many rules of construction when they're looking at charters and statutes and ordinances, and one of the rules that they employ is if they can adopt a narrowing construction that prevents something from being unconstitutional, they will do that. The top of the first page has a suggested provision that I have prepared for you, which is not to say I'm necessarily recommending this language. I just wanted to get this in front of you for discussion purposes. And it limits I'll call it the secondary disqualification to positions held by the spouse. It doesn't go to extend to other family members. I think spousal relationships were the focus of the council's concerns earlier this year. And then it lists a whole slew of positions that would result in disqualification. It's not like Dexter, it doesn't say city employment, period. So if someone were a public works employee, without supervisory responsibilities, that would not disqualify their spouse from serving as a council member, for example. And to my mind, that's more in line with what the law court has said recently about the First Amendment aspects of these types of provisions. So what I've tried to do here is list a couple of types of positions. First of all, positions directly appointed by the city council. If your spouse is the city manager and you're on the city council, that seems that there are pretty obvious opportunities for conflicts to arise. Department heads, the assessor, again an appointee, finance director, tax collector, city attorney, and so forth. Some of these are appointed by the manager, but they're all positions that deal directly with the city council on a regular basis. And that's really the focus of this list. People who would have occasion to come before you, make presentations on behalf of the department with regard to purchases or departmental budgets or the policy issues, those types of things. And so that's the focus here. It's on those folks with whom you either appointed and directly supervise them, or you interact with them on city business on a regular basis. And if you go forward with this sort of provision in the charter, I would suggest you scrutinize this list and decide if all of these positions listed really should be on it. Give some thought to, how frequently an ordinary police officer would come. You do appoint police officers. You have to confirm that appointment as municipal officers. I don't know. Have they delegated? Is that delegated to you by ordinance? Or it is. So okay. But you might consider, how often would an ordinary police officer come in front of you? You might scratch that and simply say police chief, for example.
Like back to the department heads, kind of what department heads might cover it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
City manager and department heads. Now the school board, so that
Well, that's your, because I'm questioning why the RSU board member on here. That's what,
Well, and that
This
again,
is-
I made this initial list fairly broad.
okay.
Okay,
Right.
with the idea that it would probably be winnowed down if you go forward with this sort of provision.
Right.
But I just wanted to put some positions here for discussion purposes to think about and talk about and decide if they really do present the types of issues that have concerned you earlier this year.
So you think this is just my 2 cents, if we just went with the city manager and department heads, that might hold up in court?
Yeah, I think that would have a good chance. I think that that's a pretty strong case to make. People who are regularly in front of you on important policy and budget issues. If you have a spousal relationship with someone who holds one of those offices, it impacts your vote, and it impacts your vote in a way which is not automatically obvious. You wouldn't have a conflict. In other words, if I come in as department head and advocate for a particular budget for my department that doesn't benefit me personally, other than my existing salary, which is going to remain the same, that really doesn't present a conflict of interest under Title 38, Section 2605. There should be disclosure to avoid the appearance of a conflict, but it wouldn't, as a matter of law, prevent my spouse on the council from voting on that departmental budget. But as as a spouse, I might be very supportive of what my what my husband or wife, as the case may be, was presenting, and or I might be reluctant to incur the sort of disharmony at home that might come from saying, no, that budget's crazy, we're not going to approve that. Yeah, I think you can make that case. Again, who's to say for sure what the courts will do in light of this recent law court decision, because it is evaluated according to the law court now on a case-by-case balancing test basis. So, as I said, I've said several times earlier, any judge on any day may decide that the individual's interest in running for office outweighs the city's interest in having this particular restriction. But these, most of these, I think, would make a fairly solid case. You would at least have something to talk about.
So we haven't put anything in here on the individual, his or herself?
No.
We're only talking about the spouse. Should
No,
we have something in here about the
You,
individual
you,
also?
you may want to address that. There are some types of positions that under the common law, the case law in Maine, you could not hold. And generally, under the doctrine of incompatible offices, generally speaking, any position that the council appoints, hires and fires, cannot be held by a council member under the case law. You don't necessarily need a charter provision to say that. And the reasons for that are fairly obvious. You can't supervise yourself. So to some extent, the case law addresses those types of issues. But you may want to get it and amplify that and make it very specific. And some of these provisions do that are in this memo. So it's worth looking at those, and worth thinking about that as well. If you want to define the list of positions that council members, city positions that council members cannot hold, you could make it very broad. You could say council members can't hold any position, any paid position with the city, for example, during the term of office, or as in Herman for a year afterwards. Or you could be more specific than that.
If we said any paid position, wouldn't that be just like the case they had in Portland? That was a paid position, and they said that they could run for the school board.
It was the school board, and it was a paid position with the city, and they were running for the school board. That case did not specifically address someone with a paid position with the city running for the council. Again, I don't know. A court might decide. Well, if take the public works example. If you have a heavy equipment operator of public works who also wants to run for council and serve as a council member, maybe the courts would say that that's okay. I don't want to keep picking on them, but just that just an example of a non-supervisory position. And that's Bar Harbor, I think it was in here, has a provision that is it Bar Harbor?
So we don't, do we have anything now, so if someone was a police officer, that they can't run for council while they're employed with the city? I thought we had something now that stipulates that you cannot run if you're a public works employee, a laborer, that you cannot run for city council if you're employed. I thought that was already in place.
I'd have to go back and look.
Yeah,
'Cause I thought that was questioned years ago.
It may have been. I mean, these issues tend to recur.
Yeah, I thought we did, because then the person became a counselor after the fact.
And again, that may have been an incompatible office issue where, and at the time, I don't know, so by statute in Maine, the municipal officers appoint police officers unless there's a charter ordinance which delegates it. And
This wasn't a police officer, though.
No, this was
No?
Public Works
Public
director.
Public
Works.
Works.
Public Works, yeah, I know, I remember.
I know, yeah. I know
Yeah.
what you're talking
Yeah.
yeah, well, regardless of what restrictions you have on service as a council member, and I have to draw this distinction as I did in Dexter, you are walking a very fine line if you prohibit people from running for city council.
Right.
If you have a disqualification or that you yourself can remove, and that's the clear case. I'm an city employee. I want to run for the council, even if there's a valid charter provision which says I can't keep my job if I'm on the council. I have the power to become qualified to serve on the council. I can resign my job.
Right, they have the
Yeah.
choice to,
Right.
if they get elected, to choose
So,
at that point.
so to say that you can't run, that's
Right.
taking it one step
Right,
further in
right.
terms of the First Amendment concern
Right.
than saying that they can't serve.
Right.
Because you don't want to.
That makes sense, and that way, if
Yeah.
they decide to run for council, then they know they have to resign their position. That's on them to make that decision. We're
But-
not saying you can't run.
But you don't want to you don't want to force someone to resign their employment simply to run.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
Have to get
that's a
elected
very
first.
onerous restriction on their First Amendment rights. So you do have to
That
keep
makes
that distinction in mind.
Yep.
Again, I'm sure we'll have more discussion about this.
This is very good information. This is.
If you look at Mount Desert, that was the one I was alluding to earlier, they have a blanket prohibition against serving, selectmen serving in any other compensated town office, but it looks like when they wrote that, they had a couple of employees who worked at the school department, so they carved out an exception for up to
First
2
one?
employees of the school department. I have to think that's why they did that. It was an existing situation, so they did a carve-out.
Which one's this, the Bar Harbor
The
one?
very last one, that Mount Desert.
Oh, Mount,
I said Bar Harbor was Mount
Oh,
Desert
Mount-
on the last page.
the last page. Also, shall hold other concept.
So,
Oh,
I mean, to me, that sounds like there were 2 selectmen at the time who had those positions, so they just, they wrote it that way.
Yeah, yeah.
interesting. This is
But
great
other
information.
than that, that's a very broad prohibition. It says if you're a selectman, you can't hold any other town office, any other compensated town office, or be appointed as a member of a town board or committee. That may be too broad, and some of the case law on this, not just in Maine but other jurisdictions, makes a distinction as to appointments under the incompatible offices doctrine. If you appoint the city manager or a police chief or department, someone that you have the power to hire and fire, the cases say it's an incompatible office for that person to be part of the board that appoints them. Okay, but a lot of the case law draws a distinction between positions that have their own executive or administrative authority, like the police chief would, and positions that are representative. For example, if you appointed a councilman, or if you had a member of the Municipal Review Committee Board representing the city of Old Town, who then ran for office and became a council member, some of the cases would suggest that that's not an incompatible office because they don't have independent executive authority or administrative authority on the city's behalf. They're simply there as a city representative. So those distinctions are drawn in some of the cases as well. If I've got you confused, I've done my job.
Congratulations.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, I have to agree. Yeah.
I don't know, I'm still of the opinion that whether you run or not, you have to show some validity in order to get elected to the town office. And if I look at Lori, yeah, there's some issues there, but she was also, I think, an excellent council person and contributed a lot to the city. She just had some things that she couldn't vote on. And I think we're spending more time on this than we do a budget, and it's only happened twice in the history of the town, so. But I'll do whatever the pleasure of the committee is.
I honestly think it needs a little tweaking. I mean, it's not meant to eliminate everybody, as you said. And I think we do have to be careful that, yes, you can run for the office, for a council seat. However, the wording that you had said, I don't think that we really need to be with Dexter, children, brothers, sisters.
Yes.
I think that's a little much. But I still think we should pursue it and get it fine-tuned so that it's broad enough, but yet concise enough, so that when we bring it before we bring it through as a possibility of being voted on as a referendum. I mean, it's going to be the citizens of Old Town that decide whether or not they want to continue with it. And I don't think that's a bad thing.
I agree with that. I think if we just fine tune it, take it down, like I said earlier, city manager, department heads, keep it that simple. I agree, Stan, Lori did a great job, but this going forward will take care of any of that. Maybe not put people in that position again, to feel that way. So I think if we just refine this a little bit and send it out and like you said, we are not the ones voting on this at the end of the day, so. And I feel better you saying, because I was gonna say, no, myself, no, push it, but with you tonight saying that we would have a shot if someone, you know, you made me feel better tonight than you did the last time we talked
Well,
about this.
all I'm saying is,
I can tell you that.
you have to make the case, if this is ever questioned in court, you have to make the case that the city has it's not a compelling interest test, it's
Right.
not that level of scrutiny, but the city has a substantial interest in this particular restriction that outweighs the interests of the persons involved in the individual case in running for or serving as council members. And it is ad hoc, it's case by case, but the more potential for conflict that there is based on the list of positions you've identified, the better the chances it will be upheld.
I think it's worth pursuing too, and I think, I don't see it being challenged. They can challenge, as we said before, anything they want to in our charter. So, I mean, that really, to me, isn't an arguable point about putting it in or not putting it in, because they can challenge most anything. And it does, I mean, as you said, it doesn't happen, you don't see it happening that often, and so I doubt it will.
But I guess the other question that I had, there was one that you brought up, David, was the fact that city employees, you don't know if it's in there or not.
I wrote that down so we can check on that to see. I wrote that
Yeah.
down and I wrote what I know about the last time, so I get more specific with you later and you can check on it. But I'm pretty sure that, I feel very comfortable that it's in there, but I could be wrong.
In the charter, that is, or in the,
It's in something, so they can't. run
It's not in the charter, I can tell you that. But
Right,
No.
so it's in something, I'm
yeah,
pretty sure.
okay, because
It may
that,
be in
because
the-
that might be, as you said,
Maybe
do
it's in
you
a
think
hand-
that's something you?
In the
Might be in
employee-
somebody's
you had
employee's
something,
handbook,
yeah,
it might
like
be
this,
something.
would we?
In
It
which
may be-
case,
If we
that
have a
doesn't
policy,
hold
it may
any
need to
more
be
water than the
modified,
charter.
you know,
Okay.
based on the recent law court decision.
haven't
I
seen
say
it,
recent,
but
2013
I'll
at
look.
this point, but
Okay.
Yeah.
still not ancient.
Maybe, it may be implied, but nothing in,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering too,
Mhm.
if it's implied.
yeah.
I can give you a specific date, so. Okay.
So where are we going from here?
Sounds to me like we're just going to refine this a little bit at a next, come back with some suggestions at the next committee level, and at that point, sounds to me like at that point, come back, we refine it, then we ship it to the council to get approval or not to ship it to the charter.
Well, I think though, I'm wondering, as far as movement on this, where June elections are coming up soon, I mean, how soon do we have to have this in order so that it can be on?
Well, the last time Patty said was, she said, you know, if
Could
you
it
want to
be
make it the
April?
June, it's, right, it definitely has to be done in April to make the June one. Because when she sends out, I forget how she said it, but we'd want to
Because we,
get this taken care of in April.
right, okay, so our April 1st meeting,
I don't know why we can't have a committee meeting before our first regular meeting in April if you wanted to do it committee and then push it to the full council.
I'm not chair,
Who's on the committee?
I'm on it, but Mr.
John,
Peterson is
Teresa.
the chair.
I mean, if we wanted to meet beforehand, 15 minutes before our regular council meeting on the first meeting in April. Or we can just come back and refine it, send it right to the council.
Council, I just-
If you want to do it that way. Don't
Or-
you have it on committee, just come back and refine it. People can
Yeah,
email,
I can send this around.
send it around and get
To
back
it done
feedback
and
from
send it to
everybody
you
and,
See if you're okay with the way it's written.
Yeah.
Right, because then
Try
it
to
can
do
be
it
just
by
put on
email.
it can be just put on the agenda.
absolutely.
Do you,
For discussion.
do you want some language about council members themselves, about not being, about council members not being allowed to serve in certain offices?
I thought that's what we brought that up. I thought that's.
Well, you know, again, there are some that are pretty clear in the case law, but the case law doesn't address every situation. So do you want to include some prohibitions on council members holding, I mean, you could go with
Because we can't
I would
prevent
think
it from
so.
running.
any office of profit.
Right. Makes sense to me, but.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would
Because then
think so.
it can be also discussion, and we can
Right.
add or delete it or whatever.
I mean,
we want.
are you thinking to make it broader than just city manager and department head?
No, I think that
Department
narrowing
heads, I
it
mean,
to
that
that-
narrow right
Well, I
down,
thi-
just those two
I
right there.
Narrowing it to those two is.
Those
is
two, and then,
adequate.
like you said, the other part, and then Bill can send it out to us, and if we see something to send back, we can send it back, and then we can put it on the agenda, and the council might vote it down on the meeting in April.
That wouldn't resolve the situation we just had.
It would if someone
It would
became a
not.
department head.
It would not. With Lori, he wasn't a department head. She's not a department head. It's a child anyway, but it wouldn't resolve that situation.
I'm not following you.
No.
She still could have run.
What?
She could still run.
She
can-
could have
if
run and
can
sat
still
on the
run, yeah.
council the
She
way it
can still
is,
run.
yeah.
Right, yes.
Yes, but there was also some extenuating circumstances at the very end, so I think, yeah, there's nothing to say that she can't run again, absolutely.
Absolutely,
Absolutely,
absolutely, yeah.
This wouldn't prohibit her from running.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, I'm just wondering why we're going through this, but.
No, believe me, until I heard from Eric tonight that, because it was actually you that, in these meetings, have talked me into, we're wasting a lot of time here, because if it goes to court, we don't have a shot. But tonight, I'm hearing that we have a better shot than.
I've always tried to underscore is you've got to make the case.
Right.
You know, you can't have blanket huge prohibitions that don't have any strong justification.
But I disagree with the fact that if it went to court, that it's an automatic loss.
Yeah.
Because it
Right.
depends on a lot of things
Yes,
as far
right.
as.
And there's a big if there. There's a huge if.
And I think just for me going through this process with Lori, that, you know, the stuff she had to go through and stuff, that this would, if we have something in place, it would help people decide whether they, you know,
Yeah.
wanted to run or not, so.
But if this happens, again, say, that somebody does run, and there's no department head or anybody, so that person can sit on the council, but then a person has a spouse that's going to, looking for a job within the city that could be a department head, so that's when the choice would be either, right? Is that what we're looking at?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
It goes back to the thing that the spouse could apply and get the job and be the
Same
department
idea,
head, but
right.
the person
Mhm.
has to resign
Right.
from the
Well-
council.
Right.
Right.
Yes, and if you have someone who's a current employee that applies for promotion to become a department head
Right.
and gets it, does that disqualify the council member? It would, if that was the sort of provision that you had.
Right.
You would no longer be qualified to serve as council member if your spouse was elevated to department head level.
It opens other things up, though. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. So Bill, you can get that and send it to us, and then we can put it on the agenda for April, and then we can figure out, we can end it, either push it forward or we'll end it, one way or the other on. first
Well,
meeting in April.
and, well, we did say that we didn't have to get it, we do have November. If we don't.
Yes, if some reason we can't get, if some reason,
We do have November, so, I mean,
Which
it's
is a
not,
much larger election.
and it's, I would rather do it right than rush it and get it,
Agreed.
and do it, and have to redo it.
I would rather wait until the next election if we needed to get it right.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a
so we can
rush.
see what he sends out to us, and if we don't
Yeah.
feel comfortable, then.
I'm not in a hurry with that. Twice in how long?
Because we don't want to do it and then find out we didn't do it well, and then
Right.
say, oh, shoot.
Okay.
We'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
You can second it, you're not on the committee.
I am too.
Yeah, she's
I
on the
was-
committee
Right now?
Yeah.
Okay. All those in favor? Her name isn't here, I didn't read it.
I just wrote it
I'm a
down.
visual learner.
We got John Rowell coming, who's gonna talk about this?
John's not here, so we doing this next committee? Or are you talking for John, or somebody, Travis, is somebody stepping in for John tonight?
No, I didn't realize he wasn't gonna be here, but he obviously isn't gonna be here.
So I guess we will move on from this
Yeah,
one?
he,
I'm all for moving on.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, so we will move on to the,
You have to do any action
Gavel.
on this?
Dan, can
You wanna wait, you're waiting.
right, I mean, I would've talked about it.
There's a
just
date here of when they want to
briefly.
start.
Yeah,
let me see it again, let me see it again.
Oh, backing up, back up the bus.
The date.
Gonna risk us getting this done in time.
Yeah, maybe we get a
I'm
bus.
not gonna tell them where you live.
Where is this date, where's the date, Stan?
No, there isn't, but they're talking 10 months.
yeah, I
Do
mean,
we
if you,
have a date that we have to be done by, I
10-month period.
guess is the next question.
yeah, well, we Gotta have most of the process finished by December. So
Was this-
we're in Economic Development Committee right now, right? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, we haven't
probably
called
ought
it.
to call it in order to discuss this.
Call to order the March 18th, 2015 Economic Development Committee, City of Old Town.
Looks like this is just an update anyways. Looks like there's no action on
The
it.
biggest thing, right, I mean, the biggest thing that John wanted to talk about, and actually I'm a little bit concerned, because he was at the airport meeting this morning, I talked to him this afternoon, I have no idea why he's not here, so hopefully, his truck's not broken down or whatever.
Call him and just say,
Out in the ditch.
I have no idea why he's not here.
Grab us
but-
some chips
And we
tonight.
talked about this, but anyway, he's been going through CES. CES has been trying to find somebody that can bring in waste that's local, that's able to do that in the right mix of CDD. So CES actually got a hold of this waste company that owns 2 transfer stations. They've been down and checked these guys out. John went down, took pictures of the CDD that they actually would bring in here, and he can give a better description of it than I could, but essentially they have a big enough excavator with a thumb on it and some other equipment that they really break everything down so it's a lot finer. So when they bring that material here to fix the slopes on our CDD pile, it's a lot easier to spread out than typically what you'd get with just someone bringing in miscellaneous CDD. They break down everything. So you won't find any whole pieces of 4x8 plywood or 8 or 10 foot long 2x6s or anything like that. They mash it up in pretty good shape before it gets there. They're willing, in talking with CES, you see the 9,675 tons. They said if that's what the city wants, they would deliver it in any amounts that we wanted. If we wanted 5 loads a week, 2 loads a week, they put this in here 3 loads a week, because in talking with John and CES, that's what they felt would be the best amount to bring. And they're actually bringing a load just so they can have a live bottom trailer here unloaded at the site, so they can see how that would work on the current site they have.
So
And as you
what-
can see, they would, as Stan pointed out, the $290,000, $25 should be $290,250.
If you want a table, he'll come right in.
he's all right though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think there's, basically the biggest thing we were looking at was trying to offset our possible match of $125,000.
Right.
And so as far as the mix, the amounts they can bring, if we wanted them to bring more, they could bring more, but they're fine with bringing whatever amount that we want to bring in here. Like I said, CES has looked at it. John's gone down to the site and actually taken pictures of their CDD and the operation and stuff, and he's happy with it. So we'd actually get this amount of match towards the closure, and that would give us extra money actually to help monitor the landfill, because we're still going to have
Oh, that makes
monitoring
sense.
costs over time
Right.
with that,
Good.
whether it's closed or not. So we'd still have a pretty good amount of money left over to be able to monitor it for another 10 or 15 years.
So what do you need a motion tonight? It looks to me like it was just an update of what he wanted to go with.
It is. We just want to make sure, we could certainly bring this forward if you're okay with this. I could bring it to the next council meeting to make it official on that. But obviously, we don't want to let time go by, because this is all very time sensitive.
Right.
And like I said, it's been looked at. CES is looked at this. John's looked at it.
Are we doing the shaping, or is that
Well,
the contractor that's gonna do the shaping?
right, the
Do we have
contractor.
enough money or enough manpower and equipment?
Yeah.
John?
The biggest thing that they would be doing would be, with that live bottom trailer, we would probably have to have somebody up there with a dozer that would be pushing that off as it comes off, because they'll take the live bottom trailer, they can get most of it out of that trailer, but it works a lot better as it's coming out, if someone's there with a dozer or a small excavator to push that stuff off. But as far as the actual finished slopes and stuff, that's all part of the CES and whoever ends up getting that
So it's
contract. But
John's function to push that around when it comes off?
right, yeah.
So you're saying for the next meeting then?
Yep.
Okay, so I make a motion to move this item on, to recommend this item to the full council for the April 6th meeting.
Second.
Jay just did,
So moved.
yeah.
Any other discussion? None? I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
John will be at the next meeting. He'll be at the April
Yep.
6th meeting.
I thought he was gonna be here tonight. I don't know. I don't know what happened.
Cindy? I know we've adjourned, but I thought, we haven't started the other meeting yet.
Not,
right?
no,
Is he gonna give us some sort of estimate what it's gonna take his department to do that? Are we gonna include that cost in the landfill project as such? Can we answer some of those questions at the
Yeah.
next meeting?
Yep. Yep.
so we can do that when, at that next meeting, when we ask for discussion, he can talk about all that stuff then. Okay, I call the March 18th, 2015 special council meeting to order. Flag salute, Councilor Roach, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call.
Silent roll call has been taken. Quorum is present.
Okay, approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the March 2nd, 2015 regular council meeting?
So moved.
Okay, Carol, is there a second?
Second.
John? Discussion? All those in favor? None opposed. 6-0. Petitions, communications, citizens' requests. At this time, is there anyone from the audience that would like to discuss an item that is not on the agenda? Okay. Moving on, reports. Council President, I was just going to bring up about adding a council to the Housing Committee, and Council May's doing that, so we just got to make sure Patty knows that. Moving on to standing committees. Any committee meetings that anybody wants to report on? Nope. City councilors.
No, I don't have anything. Bill's probably going to remind about the receptions.
Yep.
But, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
I gotta, yes, I have to, I haven't replied to Cindy's yet. No, Dawn, what are the, Dawn's is the last Friday of the month,
27th.
Yep.
I forgot.
6
From
p.m.
6 p.m. Yep, at the Hilton,
And we're gonna do
the 27th.
presentation then, and
Cindy's is Tuesday.
Tuesday.
This coming Tuesday.
From 3 to 5.
At the library, at 3 to 5.
Yep.
I forgot. I gotta do that.
can you send out
That
another
one is-
reminder on both
that's
those,
an-
please?
Just to
Yes,
go, you
please.
don't have to read, yeah.
27th.
Thank you. City Attorney,
No report.
Special Committee, School Board Liaison, City Manager.
Yep, just a sec.
I know I replied back to Dawn's, but I haven't done Cindy's yet.
Got a few things tonight. First thing I'd like to do is introduce the new police chief here is Scott Wilcox, who's in the back of the room, and asked him to come here tonight just so everyone could put a name and a face together, so.
Welcome and congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity to be here tonight. Very excited to get started on the 30th and look forward to coming back to the great city of Old Town where I grew up and give back to the community that gave to me while I was here.
Great.
Thank you.
To hear.
Now, Bill mentioned you were going to give a 90-day presentation of what you're going to do in the first 90 days. You had a PowerPoint all ready
I
to go.
certainly do that for you if you. The PowerPoint I'm missing, but I can take care of the rest of it. I didn't know about the PowerPoint.
So welcome aboard, and
Great.
we're all very happy.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Have a good
Any
night.
questions for Scott at all from anybody? No?
I'll tell you when Riverfest is, Scott. How's that?
I'll be there.
Last weekend in September.
Great.
Yeah, I'll tell, because we'll need you.
Look forward to it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I start early on that.
Thanks, Scott.
Great. Thank you.
Coming up in April, part of I mentioned this before, we've got stormwater MS4 permit that's going on, and part of that is Phil Ruck coming to speak to you folks. He'll probably be here that first meeting. If not the first meeting of April, he'll definitely be here on the second meeting. And that's all part of our licensing, and he'll be here to discuss that with you. Old Town Orno Fiber Agreement, that's ongoing. That'll be coming back. Had a nice meeting with the Penobscot Indian Nation on Friday. They certainly want to participate in the in Riverfest. I talked to Carol about that. They're trying to put together some of the things they'd like to do, and like I told them, I got to get together with you to make sure that, you know, area-wise and
That's
time-wise.
exciting. And we should have a meeting, everybody,
Yep.
fairly soon.
Yeah, and as soon
Yeah.
as Patty gets back from
Yeah.
vacation, because I know she's on that
Yeah.
anniversary committee,
Right,
so.
yeah. That's
Put
great.
that-
That's good. It'll be wonderful.
Yep, they're very excited about it. Looking forward to
Mm.
that. Already talked about Cindy and Dawn, so I can jump over that. Budget information, Miles and I have been working on that. It's, I'm thinking that we're probably gonna be able to sit down to go through the first round like we did last year with the Finance Committee, probably by the 14th or so of April, to do that. Stan and I talked about it a little bit today at the airport meeting. I don't foresee the state budget getting finalized again. It's gonna be like it was 2 years ago. You know, the Democratic Party is already pushing back right now on the budget. One of the things that they were talking about today is they mentioned wanting to restore municipal revenue sharing. I don't believe they're gonna be able to do that in total. If they did, that would be wonderful for us, so we'd get $1 million more. That's not gonna happen, but anything beyond what we're currently getting would be great, and that's certainly one of the big pushes that they're trying to do.
School budgets don't look well, though. I mean, that's gonna be,
No, and I mean, you know, I think, again, the schools have been put in a situation where the state has just made the decision that they're just going to raise the local mill rate requirement. In an Old Town's case, you saw the memo that they sent out, it's $185,000. I mean, that's got nothing to do with this group, it's got nothing to do with the RSU, it's just been arbitrarily done. And it's like removing the homestead exemption. You know, if that happens, I mean, if you're over 65 years old, you'd still have your homestead exemption, but everybody else in town would lose theirs, and that's $200. That's got nothing to do with
yeah.
anybody. So that's a ways down the road. I think you're gonna see some modifications to that. I'm sure the governor's thrown a lot out there to try to get something through, and I don't think a lot of it's gonna go through, but
So we could be right in July again, trying to get a budget.
I think that's probably what's gonna happen, because I think once, you know, the Democrats are gonna come back with an alternate budget, probably in mid-April, and that's when you'll really see a lot of the negotiations. I won't call it fighting, but negotiations will actually start in earnest then, back and forth, and I don't think they'll get done till late June.
All right.
And that's it for me.
So just as soon, when you do decide, just let us know so the Finance Committee knows.
Yep.
As soon as we can on
We
those
can do it
dates.
committee of the whole, yep, however you guys wanna do that.
Right.
Set up.
I was gonna, your weekly notes, I find them valuable.
Yes, I do too.
And I see where the 27 acres has, and I saw the university also made that. Will we get an update from the LLC on that, or the progression and?
Yeah, we'll do that. I mean, the biggest thing the university has to do now is to sit down internally and decide if they're just gonna put that out on the open market, or if they wanna try to lease that property. If they wanna put some restrictions on what they wanna see for development in there, so that's kind of what they're gonna do. I mean, Jake Ward was thinking that could take until next summer for them to
Yeah,
really
But
get
at
through
least
that whole process.
it's progressing.
Yep.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's encouraging.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the other thing I had to ask you was the Biz Compass is going to take over our website?
I don't know that. I'm just trying to see what,
Oh, it says the phone I just wondered
Yeah.
if they're going to take it over or.
I don't know. I'm waiting to get back, see what they've got for proposal, what they
Uh-huh.
may or may not
What they're going
do.
to, what they say.
Right. Yep.
Thank you, that's all I had. But
Okay.
I do appreciate
Yeah.
the notes.
Yep. Good. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Okay, moving on, consent agenda, public hearings, second reading of ordinances, old business, city council continuing a hearing to determine if buildings or other structures located on the property at 614 Main Street, Old Town, Maine is or is not a dangerous building. I'm looking to have a motion to table this until the April 6th meeting, please.
So moved.
Okay, Carol, is there a second?
Second.
John, discussion? All those in favor? None opposed? Moving on to the next item. The city council considered, new business, the city council considered adopting a fireworks ordinance. Looking for the same thing, looking for a motion to table this item until the April 6th meeting.
So moved.
Okay, Linda. Stan on second. Discussion, all those in favor? None opposed, 6-0. Second item, the city council consider accepting donations from the Old Town Community Food Drive. Councilor Roach.
Resolved, the city council hereby accepts the donations that have been made for the second annual Old Town Community Food Drive and further authorizes the finance director to disperse the same amount in equal amounts to benefit the following food pantries: Holy Family Parish Food Pantry, Crossroads Ministries, and the St. Anne's Penobscot Nation Food Pantry.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Linda, discussion? Once again, wanted to make sure we thank Travis, EJ, Linda, everybody that showed out there, but especially Travis for doing this again. Really appreciate it. Very nice job. All those in favor? None opposed. Okay, we're going to move on to, if I could get a motion to discuss an item that is not on the agenda.
So moved.
Carol, is there a second?
Second.
John, discussion? All those in favor? None opposed. The city council consider authorizing the city manager to sign a quick claim deed. Councilor Nuttall.
Resolved, the Old Town City Council hereby authorizes the city manager to sign a quitclaim deed from the city to Russ M. Foster for a portion of an unnamed unbuilt way depicted on tax map 31.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Linda, discussion? I think Travis, there he is. Yes, sir.
This piece actually is very small. It's 1,496 square feet. As far as traditional value as we think of it, there's none because it's not a buildable lot. It can't be a lot by itself. It represents 3/100ths of an acre, and it splits two properties owned by the same gentleman. So he owns both sides of it. And this portion of this right-of-way that the city is considering turning over to Mr. Foster is what splits those two properties. His second property is also unbuildable. It was a house lot for many years on French Island. It was torn down many years ago, and that's an unbuildable lot. He lives on this property over here, and this is just a little strip of land that separates the two. They'll all be combined into one lot, so we have a conforming lot there, which benefits him and the city down the road, so we have as many conforming lots as we can.
Are we talking 58 and 65?
67 and 66.
Yes.
67 and 66?
Yeah.
Yes.
You're not gonna give, oh, I see. You're
That
only
will-
gonna give them that part of it?
Right.
You're gonna give the piece between 58 and 65
Potentially.
to the highest bidder or whatever?
I'm pinch hitting tonight for Mr. Russell, so I'm not sure how far that conversation has gone.
You know what, if you look on the new tax maps and the aerial survey that was done, just like between 66 and 67, Dave went and spoke with Water District, Sewer, to make sure there were no easements or issues or pipes or anything. There's not. In this way, if you look, there's a driveway that actually goes in here, probably 25 feet. It's already in the middle of this and then turns off. The rest of this is lawn that they've been mowing since probably 1930.
We talking the 58, 65 side or the 67?
The 66, 67 side. I didn't really look at those two, to be honest with you, to see on that, but, I mean, they've been using this thing for,
When I
Eric?
wrote the description, I excluded the portion between the other two lots in case those lot owners wanted the same deal. In a position of saying, oh, we gave you a road to this other town.
And your description has two 90-degree bends in it instead of just diagonally across?
I didn't do a meets and bounds, it just by reference to the tax maps. And so, yes, there'll be a small portion of that way where it's an L shape. Because the other two lots do not match up equally, and so there'll be a portion of the way that, where the line runs down the middle of the existing way. Very small portion.
Would it be easier before we give a quick claim deed to have that go straight across from corner to corner instead of adding two more posts to somebody's boundary?
That's what I wanted too. That's what I was wondering too. It's an awkward lot.
I don't think it's gonna require pins or posts, I think,
Well, if they have it surveyed. You kind
get this.
if you was to sell that, how could you have an unbacked boundary line, and if the people next door wanna split that, somebody's gonna wanna pin there somewhere, I think.
which is up to them to do that. I mean, the city's kind of sitting on this thing that we have
I
absolutely no
understand, but
use
if we
for.
went from the corner of 67 to the corner of 66 on that back corner in a straight line, it'd be a lot easier to define. Because those might have pins in there.
Oh, so he wants to go,
Do you want to do a diagonal line?
Yeah. Shortest distance between 2 points.
so he wants to go from here to here?
That way, if somebody wanted to argue about the line, they could stretch a rope
What-
across
what's
from that
else
pin
he
to
wanna
that
do
pin,
it?
and there's the
No, I
line,
don't-
instead of coming out there in the middle of the road.
Oh.
Straight
Zigzag.
across. Or we could do like a crescent.
Build a little bridge.
Doesn't make any sense?
I don't know, I don't like diagonal lines and lots, but that's just me.
Look at the rest of
Past
them.
life.
Oh my God, look at 66.
He didn't put those there, though.
Yeah, he didn't do that one.
I don't have anything in the way of distances or corners to use in preparing a description. So if you wanted to do it that way, you probably would need some surveyor to go out and give me those dimensions to prepare.
Yeah.
it as a
Wouldn't it be a lot easier to identify the corner of
pay a surveyor
67,
to
the
go
corner of
out.
66, and it would that zigzag line?
I think, if I may, I think the reason why, Mr. Russell explained to me why they split that way is when we start splitting these roads in other places, this is an exception. Typically, they look right up the middle of that proposed right away and they give half to this side and half to this side. It just so happens this guy owns a lot on both sides, so that's what kind of complicates it. I think that's just traditional thinking for consistency is you split it right in the middle. That's why. Not saying a diagonal line won't work. I too am shy of diagonal lines. I like 90 degrees. But
Look at lot 80.
yeah, I didn't make those.
I understand, but do we want to add to it?
Eric?
I don't know as it matters.
But if you drew out, if you picture the rest of those lots, right? If you picture the rest of that, if they want this, then that's gonna square that lot off on 65.
I got that.
Right, so that is gonna be nice and square. You're not gonna have, if you put a diagonal line in here, then it's gonna make it
Yeah,
a
that's
lot
gonna
more
mess it up.
confusing.
Oh, there's.
If you
it's
split,
gonna be-
split the
Yeah.
remainder between 58 and 65 down the middle, you would have you would have.
You wrote it out, okay, I said my piece, I can live with it.
I'm more confused now than I was
They
5
come and
minutes
ask me
ago.
what the hell they do that for, I'm gonna say,
It's easy to
hey,
see.
I brought it up.
If we split this down the middle between these two eventually, if
Right.
you put a diagonal, that just
And
end
that's
up with that.
No,
Oh,
you know,
that,
we're talking,
Yeah.
what,
Just go with
50
that.
square feet at the max?
Not a lot.
It's not a lot of,
Just very briefly, I'm not sure this was ever a city street. I mean,
Right.
it's a way shown plan that was recorded long ago in time for the city to accept it as long ago expired. So I'm not sure the city has any legal interest in this, but the release deed confirms that, in this
so we're
case.
just saying, you got whatever we
Right.
actually don't think we own.
Right.
If this had been a city right-of-way that was deemed discontinued through lack of public maintenance for 30 years, okay? The normal disposition, as Travis said, would be that it goes to the abutters on either side by the center line. So if you look at those tax maps, I think it's lot 58, as this is written, they will take their portion, their half of the right-of-way if they come to the city at a future date and make that request. And I didn't want to have given that away to another property owner in this deed. That's
Got it.
kind of where I am with this.
I do have another question. You've put that, sorry. You've put the city's new program out to the public now on the
Yes.
website so people can go and access it. When would this and other properties be updated? Because I had somebody come to me the other day that's already been to your website and said, that's not what my property is.
Well, if it's a recent split, then what happens is they get, the tax maps get updated periodically. Usually it's once a year. We don't,
This change was made 2 years ago.
that's something that I'm not aware of, then we certainly can look at why. But it's as easy as making the notation on our current maps, and then the next time they go in for updating, it gets updated.
Okay. I'll talk to you about it in a few minutes.
Okay?
I think you just gotta square off every lot from what I can tell. Just start over. Okay, then. Where were we? Oh, no more discussion. So, all those in favor? Opposed? No, you're in favor. Okay, 6-0. Okay. So now we're moving on to the last item. Bill, we're not going to discuss the last item. Do we just want to table this to the April meeting?
Sure.
Okay, so
Yep.
City Council consider going to executive session for the purpose of discussing a personnel matter. If I can get a motion to table this item to the April 6, 2015 meeting, please.
So moved.
John, is there a second?
Second.
Stan, discussion. All those in favor? None opposed? And then if I could have a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Carol, Stan, discussion. All those in favor? None opposed? And I am looking at 7:40.